We are back, everyone. This is Brother Doug with my sister Shoshana, my brother Dennis, our sister Sally. We are the Wigan by Yahuwah Assembly in Yahuwah Almighty and Yahusha Messiah, and my sister Shoshana will be leading us in the part 2 reading for the last chapter of the book of Baruch. So people that have been with us on this journey the past 2 weeks, we're about to finish the first book of Baruch today. So my sister Shoshana will start us off, and then Dennis, and then our sister Sally will finish. So Sister Shoshana, take it away. And let me just get it on the screen for you.
First Baruch 6, the letter Jeremiah to Baruch on the false deities of Babylon. A copy of an epistle which Jeremiah sent unto them, which were to be led captives into Babylon by the king of the Babylonians, to certify them as it was commanded him of Yahuwah. Because of the sins which you have committed before Yahuwah, you shall be led away captives into Babylon by Nebuchadnezzar, king of the Babylonians. So when you come to Babylon, you shall remain there many years, and for a long season, namely 7 generations. And after that, I will bring you away peaceably from there. Now shall you see in Babylon deities of silver and of gold and of wood, borne upon shoulders, which cause the nations to fear. Beware, therefore, that you in no wise be like to strangers, neither be you and of them, when you see the multitude before them and behind them worshiping them. But say you in your hearts, O Yahuwah, we must worship you, for my Malach is with you, and I myself caring for your beings. As for their tongue, it is polished by the workmen, and they themselves are gilded and laid over with silver. Yet are they but false and cannot speak. And this reminds me of Jeremiah 10, verse 9, and taking gold as it were for a virgin that loves to go glad, they make crowns for the heads of their deities. Sometimes also the priests convey from their gods gold and silver and bestow it upon themselves. Yes, they will give thereof to the common harlots and deck them as men with garments, being gods of silver and deities of gold and wood. Yet cannot these deities save themselves from rust and moth, though they be covered with purple raiment. They wipe their faces because of the dust of the temple, when there is much upon them, and he that cannot put to death one that offends him holds a scepter, as though he were a judge of the country. He has also in his right hand a dagger and an axe, but cannot deliver himself from war and thieves, whereby they are known not to be Yahuwah. Therefore fear them not. And that reminds me, when I think of the deity with his dagger in his hand and an axe, it reminds me of when Abraham was young and he destroyed the deities that his father had made. And he left one that was holding an axe and said, he did it.
Yeah, it's interesting. You can only find that in another extra biblical book, which is in Jasher. I just want to make, because I'm pretty sure people are going to be trolling on the comments here. You're promoting Jasher. No, there's things I like from Jasher, and then there's things that honestly I think possibly could have been added in, and probably not valid. So I'm not I'm not ready to say that Jasher at all is inspired, but there is certain things, historically speaking, like Shoshana just brought up, that's actually legit in Jasher. So I'm not ready to say, though, that it's on par with the Book of Enoch. But there's definitely some interesting stories that possibly Baruch was also given another second witness here. So that's all I wanted to say.
Another thing this reminds me of with those statues, when they came out with the catalytic converters to make the atmosphere acidic, so mold and mildew and fungus would thrive. Even Washington was complaining and commenting that the acid rain was etching their statues.
Okay, well, I'm going to start with Baruch chapter 6, verse 17. For like as a vessel that a man uses is nothing worth when it is broken, even so it is with their deities. When they be set up in the temple, their eyes be full of dust through the feet of them that come in. And as the doors are made sure on every side upon him that offends the king, as being committed to suffer death, even so the priests make fast their temples with doors and locks and bars, lest their deities be spoiled with robbers. They light them with candles, yes, more than for themselves, whereof they cannot see one. For they are as one of the beams of the temple, yet they say their hearts are gnawed upon by things creeping out of the earth, and when they eat them and their clothes, they feel it not. Their faces are blacked through the smoke that comes out of the temple. Upon their bodies and heads sit bats, swallows, and birds, and cats too. By this you may know that they are not Yahuwah, therefore fear them not. Notwithstanding, the gold that it is about them to make them beautiful, except they wipe off the rust, they will not shine. For neither when they are molten did they feel it. The things wherein there is no breath are bought for a very high price. And I'm going to stop there and let Dennis or Sally, whoever wants to start.
All right.
Okay,
Yeah, brother.
If you'd
Yeah,
like.
brother Dennis, if you could start. Sister Sally is saying that it's not on her screen right now, so I'm going to try to help her out.
Okay.
Oh, no, I'm not. I didn't say that. I'm reading from a printed out version.
Oh, okay.
Actually, I'm reading from one that I downloaded.
Do you guys see the shared screen at all?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about you, Sally? I just want you to.
I do now.
Okay. All right. All right. Everything's cool then. All right.
Okay. I will continue reading from Baruch 6. Let's see.
26.
26. Okay. They are borne upon shoulders, having no feet, whereby they declare unto men that they be nothing worth. They also that serve them are ashamed. For if they fall to the ground at any time, they cannot rise up again of themselves. Neither, if one set them upright, can they move of themselves. Neither, if they are bowed down, can they make themselves straight. But they set gifts before them as unto dead men. As for the things that are sacrificed unto them, their priests sell and abuse. In like manner, their wives lay up part thereof in salt, but unto the poor and impotent they give nothing of it. Menstruous women and women in childbed eat their sacrifices. By these things you may know that they are not Yahuwah. Fear them not. For how can they be called deities? Because women set meat before the mighty ones of silver, gold, and wood. And the priests sit in their temples, having their clothes rent, and their heads and beards shaven, and nothing upon their heads. They roar and cry before their deities, as men do at the feast when one is dead. The priests also take off their garments, and clothe their wives and children, whether it be evil that one does unto them, or two, they are not able to recompense it. They can neither set up a king nor put him down. In like manner, they can neither give riches nor money. Though a man makes a vow unto them and keep it not, they will not require it. They can save no man from death, neither deliver the weak from the mighty. They cannot restore a blind man to his sight, nor help any man in his distress. They can show no mercy to the widow, nor do tob to the fatherless. Their deities of wood, in which are overlaid with gold and silver, are like the stones that be hewn out of the mountain. That they worship them shall be confounded. How should a man then think and say that they are deities when even the Chaldeans themselves dishonor them? Who, if they shall see one dumb that cannot speak, they bring him and entreat Bel that he may speak, as though he were able to understand. Yet they cannot understand this themselves, and leave them, for they have no knowledge. A woman also with cords about them, sitting in the ways, burn brand for perfume. But if any of them, drawn by some that passes by, lie with them, she reproaches her fellow that she was not thought as worthy of as herself, nor her cord broken. Whatsoever is done among them is false. How may it then be thought or said that they are deities? They are made of carpenters and goldsmiths. They can be nothing else than the workmen who have them to be. And they themselves that made them can never continue long. How should then the things that are made of them be deities? For they left lies and reproaches to them that come afar. For when there comes any war or plague upon them, the priests consult with themselves, where they may be hidden with them. How then cannot men perceive that they be not Yahuwah, which can neither save themselves from war nor from plague? For seeing they be but of wood and overlaid with silver and gold, it shall be known hereafter that they are false. Okay. Sally, did you want to pick up on
Yes,
51?
yes, I will. And it shall manifestly appear to all nations and kings that they are not Yahuwah, but the works of men's hands, and that there is no work of Yahuwah in them. Who then may not know that they are not Yahuwah? For neither can they set up a king in the land, nor give rain unto men. Neither can they judge their own cause, nor redress a wrong, being unable, for they are as crows between heaven and earth. Whereupon, when fire falls upon the house of deities of wood, or laid over with gold or silver, their priests will flee away and escape, but they themselves shall be burned asunder like beams. Moreover, they cannot withstand any king or enemies. How can it then be thought or said that they be Yahuwah? Neither are those deities of wood and laid over with silver or gold able to escape either from thieves or robbers, whose gold and silver and garments wherewith they are clothed, they that are strong take, and go away withal, neither are they able to help themselves. Therefore it is better to be a king that shows his power, or else a profitable vessel in a house, which the owner shall have use of, than such false deities, or to be a door in a house, to keep such things therein, than such false deities, or a pillar of wood in a palace, than such false deities. For sun, moon, and stars, being bright and sent to do their offices, are obedient. In like manner, the lightning, when it breaks forth, is easy to be seen, and after the same manner the wind blows in every country. And when Yahuwah commands the clouds to go over the whole world, they do as they are bidden, and the fire sent from above to consume hills and woods does as it is commanded. But these are like unto them, neither in show nor power. Wherefore it is neither to be supposed nor said that they are Yahuwah, seeing they are able neither to judge causes nor to do tob unto men. Knowing therefore that they are not Yahuwah, fear them not, for they can neither curse nor Baruch kings, neither can they show signs in the heavens among the heathen, nor shine as the sun, nor give light as the moon. The beasts are better than they, for they can get under a cover and help themselves. It is then by no means manifest unto us that they are not Yahuwah, therefore fear them not. For as a scarecrow in a garden of cucumbers keeps nothing, so are their deities of wood, inlaid over with silver and gold. And likewise, their deities of wood, inlaid over with silver and gold, are like to a white thorn in an orchard, and every bird sits upon, as also to a dead body that is cast into that is east into the dark. And you shall not know them to be Yahuwah by the bright purple that rots upon them, and they themselves afterwards shall be eaten, and shall be a reproach in the country. Better therefore is the just man that has no idols, for he shall be far from reproach. Baruch are they that do the word of Yahuwah. Shalom.
Unmute everyone. Here we go. Thank you, Sister Sally. Sorry it took so long to unmute myself. I was just fixing a little term here in that last verse. So yeah, what's interesting, I saw some stuff from Jeremiah 2 towards the end when Sally was reading, like the cucumber. I noticed some versions of Jeremiah 10 verses 6 to 9 will actually read, they are as a cucumber or as a scarecrow. So it's kind of interesting. The book of Jeremiah, it's been rumored that Baruch was actually, the son of Neriah was Jeremiah's scribe. So it's very possible. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of stuff from the book of Jeremiah that could have been written by Baruch and not just Jeremiah. So there's a lot of interwoven terminology here that I noticed. So I actually want to look at Jeremiah 10 real quick because I forget what translation I saw it in, but it said cucumber in Jeremiah 10. And I think it actually might have been the NIV. Let's see here. Do not be alarmed at the signs in the sky, meaning the angels, for the customs of the nations are vain. Tree cut out of the forest. The work of the carpenter, a molten image. They are beautified with silver and gold. They fix them with hammers and nails. They set them up that they may not move. It is worked silver. They forge silver. They must certainly be born, for they cannot move themselves. Fear them not, for they cannot do any evil. And I'm pretty sure we just read that from Baruch. They cannot do any tube or evil. They can't harm you. Thus shall you say to them, let the mighty ones which have not made heaven and earth perish from off the earth, from under this sky. Now that's interesting. So the Septuagint says, let them perish. Oh, okay. Okay, so
Well,
that's
it won't take long for them to perish because if nothing else, they'll wither away from the wind and the rain, and they can't save themselves.
Well,
And
especially nowadays, because most anybody that's been on this earth for more than 50 years knows that things really didn't start to rapidly rot and decay until about 25 years ago, where it wouldn't affect too much of anything before that time. But since then, the atmosphere has become so acidic that it is just destroying any material stuff now. The sun's rays or the ultraviolet rays, they had to come out with special new paints to keep the paints from fading so quickly because of the ionosphere being damaged so bad. And just on and on it goes.
well, as this was being gone through, this chapter 6, I felt like we were reading a comedy because it was funny at times. They build these things out of wood and stone and decorate them with gold and silver and beautiful clothes and call them deities, and yet they cannot even save themselves. And
Yes.
it's because they are not Yahuwah. Yahuwah
way.
is the only one who can save us.
I thought that was funny too because, if their house catches fire or something, they can run out, but their deities can't run out after them.
Yeah.
Right.
Jeremiah. There's a chapter from Jeremiah that talks about the craftsman makes his idol and then has to use it to cook the fire for him to eat his meat. And I want to find that because that's probably the funniest thing I ever read in the prophets, where Jeremiah is like rebuking them and saying, how silly are you basically? Like how reprobate are you? You're going to say that's a deity, that's a mighty one. You're using part of your mighty one to cook your fire. To cook your meat on. And I want to find that verse because it's so funny. It's like the same thing the guy worships, he puts and makes a fire with to warm
Right.
himself.
Sacrifices his deity for
It is.
food.
I think Baruch was quite a comic.
I think he must have been.
He had a good sense of humor.
And to bring out a good point too.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was an enjoyable chapter to read because of the humor throughout
Yes,
it.
it was. Yes.
What I found interesting too was I have to take correction about the timeline. That shows that Baruch actually this book would have been probably around the timeline of the book of Jeremiah actually, because it says that I forget where exactly in the chapter, but Shoshana read where it said basically that they were going into Babylon. So this probably would have been, I would say, around the timeline of Jeremiah, just before the book of Daniel, where they're actually going in to start their 70-year captivity. Where is it here? It says, verse 1 here. A copy of an epistle. So, how did we miss this? This is actually endorsing the epistle of Jeremiah. Oh, wow. I never noticed this before. Baruch 6:1, First Baruch 6:1 says, a copy of an epistle which Jeremiah sent unto them, which were to be led captives into Babylon. So this is a letter, epistle, Jeremiah. And actually, that means Jeremiah wrote this, even though it's the book of Baruch. This last chapter was wrote by Jeremiah, possibly. Were to be led captives into Babylon by the king of the Babylonians. So at this time period where chapter 6 being written of this book, they're actually going into captivity. So they're just about being taken captive by Nebuchadnezzar. So that's something I wanted to correct myself on, because the first video I thought it was like towards the end of the captivity, so I just wanted to correct myself. And let's see, every high place, again, high places, every under green tree. So you can find a lot of this stuff that Baruch was talking about in the book of Jeremiah, where it gets really graphic. Yahuwah talks about Yashrael spread her legs, under every green tree. I mean, it gets really graphic in some translations. I think it's Isaiah 44, 9-20 actually talks about the story I was thinking of, I think. Some people make idols, but they are worthless. They love their statues, which are useless. Those who serve as a witness for these statues cannot even see. They don't know enough to be ashamed. Who made these false deities? Who covered these useless statues? Workers made them, and workers are only human. If they all would come together before me, we could discuss this. Then they would all be ashamed and afraid. One worker uses his tools to heat iron over hot coals. Then he uses his hammer to beat metal to shape it into a statue. He uses his own powerful arms, but when he gets hungry, here we go, he loses his strength. If he does not drink water, he becomes weak. Another worker uses his string line and compasses to draw lines on the wood to show where he should cut. Then he uses his chisels and cuts a statue from the wood. He uses his calipers to measure the statue. In this way, the worker makes the wood look exactly like a man. And this statue of a man does nothing but sit in the house. To split the cedar tree, the worker took some oak or cypress wedges to make sure he had plenty of wood. He planted some pines, but it was the rain that made them grow. When the man wanted a fire, he took some of the wood to keep him warm. He also used some of it to bake his bread. But when he used that same wood to make a statue to worship as a deity, that deity is only a statue that he made. But he bows down to it. He burns half of the wood in the fire. He uses the fire to cook his meat, and he eats the meat until he is full. He burns the wood to keep himself warm. He says, now I am warm, and I can see by the light of the fire. There is a little of the wood left, so he makes a statue and calls it his deity. I'm sorry, I can't help but laugh. Like, that's nonsense.
What did he do? Did he have to call his deity to burn it?
He basically, what's left of his firewood, he makes a mini little statue and calls it his deity.
Yeah.
That's what it's saying. That's horrible. So you can look that up for yourself, viewers and listeners. That was Isaiah 44, 9-20. Isaiah was around remotely the same time period as Jeremiah, Baruch, and Ezekiel and all of them. Isaiah was that book is more about the northern captivity, the northern house of Yashrael. So, but same thing happened with the northern house. The northern house is actually the ones that got divorced. So they actually became even more wicked. Judah wasn't even as wicked as
they went.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So anyway, thank you for joining us today. This is Brother Doug signing off. Sister Shoshana, Brother Dennis, Sister Sally, if you have anything to say, I pretty much had all I wanted that came to my mind to say. So if you guys had anything to add before we go.
It just paints a really cute picture of the bats and swallows and birds and even cats sitting on them.
Yes.
Yep. Scorpions probably crawling all over them, locusts, beetles.
Dust in their eyes.
Yep.
So, have their mouths open, dust in their mouths. It's incredible that people would do this.
Yeah. especially when so much scripture tells you it's demons. When you worship a statue, you're actually worshiping an outer-bodied spirit of a giant. It's not just like you're bowing before an inanimate object. You're actually worshiping a demon by association, just by just by bowing before an image. You're actually worshiping a demon, because the Book of Enoch.
Was it Shaw that said that an idol is nothing, but it attracts demons?
Yeah, it attracts demonic, unclean spirits. And the Book of Enoch is probably where he got that from, because Enoch talks about casting spirits into images. I believe certain versions of the Book of Enoch talks about it. I forget if it's the Ethiopic version, but one of them talks about how they taught mankind, the Watchers taught mankind how to do incantations and all of that, and eventually they figured out how to get them to worship, the Titans, their children, through images.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like a medium. When the Watchers went away, they needed a medium to worship the Watchers, so they started making graven images, so that because the Watchers couldn't get worship directly anymore, they were put in the bottomless pit. So, and Enoch talks about the origins of that, the Book of Enoch, and why would they make graven images and all that. And so anyway, hopefully this was a Baruch to everyone that was listening and watching our study, and hopefully we've been vessels for Yahuwah Almighty and Yahushua Messiah to bring this truth to you, and hopefully this encouraged you to keep his commandments. Above all, that's what this book is about, returning back to his ways, just like all the other prophets talk about. This is why there's curses on them. And actually, this book shows that the curses in Deuteronomy 28 was fulfilled at this time period. Even though a lot of people try to say it's the Atlantic slave trade, I'm sorry. I would disagree with that. I believe these extra biblical, I believe these apocryphal, Old Testament apocryphal books actually show you that the Babylonian captivity was the fulfillment of those curses, in my opinion. Daniel talks about in the book of Daniel that these curses have came upon us, I believe in chapter 1. So that's just something for y'all to look up. I just want to say thank you again for joining us, and to our brothers and sisters out there in Yahuwah and Yahusha, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.